This morning, Governor Moore announced to propose $2 billion in cuts to the state's budget.
If that happens, that will put a dent in the state's $3 billion budget shortfall, but it does still leave a $1 billion deficit to address. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is live in Annapolis at the State House after tracking the developments and questioning lawmakers all day. Mackenzie.
Yeah, Kai and Mary, so despite the energetic buzz of everyone making their way back to the State House for the first day of session, the pressure is palpable for lawmakers and the governor to find a solution for the budget deficit.
Beyond the hugs, rallies outside, and welcome back messages.
Happy opening day. Welcome everyone to the beginning of the 2025 legislative session.
Delegates and senators have serious decisions to make now that the General Assembly session is back about how to close the looming $3 billion budget deficit.
And I think it's going to take everybody being at the table to be able to address a structural deficit.
Governor Wes Moore coming out Wednesday morning making news, calling for cuts, but details are scarce.
The $2 billion cuts that you're talking about, where will we see those cuts come from?
Yeah, you're going to see them come from a collection of different areas. And I think you're going to see them from a few different buckets. One is we're just increasing government efficiency. We as a government have got to make sure that we are being more efficient in the way we're thinking about our capital. I think the other thing, though, is that you cannot, when you're looking at what you're investing in and what you're spending on, we have to spend on the things that we know that are both effective and sustainable, and stop investing in the things that are not effective or sustainable.
The governor says consolidation, cutting government waste, and streamlining efficiency will be key to shrinking the budget. Downstairs, Senate President Bill Ferguson.
Where in the budget is there room to make these cuts, and where will the additional $1 billion come from?
I mean, look, we have a $63 billion budget. In fact, the budget that we're in right now is $1 billion less than the one from the prior year. In a $63 billion budget, there's room to make adjustments. And every year we find places to trim and cut. This is going to be a year where we have significantly bigger cuts at stake. And so, everything is on the table. We've heard minor details. I think next week we're going to see the governor's full proposal. I think it was the right thing to start with, noting that we are beginning to live within our means, which means cutting existing commitments and making sure that we can fund things that are the most and highest priority.
While Senator Ferguson says new taxes are on the table as a last resort, he is eyeing the top earners of Maryland as a possible way to close the budget gap. But Republicans on the other side of the aisle,
you can't raise $1 billion, $1.5 billion unless you start hitting you and me.
Argue that will be counterproductive.
He did mention potentially looking to the wealthiest Marylanders as a way to increase some revenues if necessary. Is that something that the caucus would support as well?
Governor O'Malley and Democrats at the time, before I came to Annapolis, they passed something that they euphemistically called the millionaire's tax that said, if you make X level of money, we're going to tax you at a higher level, and this is going to generate all these revenues so that we can pay for all the things when we were last in these significant budget woes under the last Democratic governor. What happened? We didn't gain any revenues. There's no magic bullet of we'll just go find Steve Bisciotti and get an extra $1 billion out of him. Steve Bisciotti's a smart guy. That's how he became so wealthy and owned the Baltimore Ravens. He's not going to stand for that. It'll be a press release. You might hear about it on Sine Eye, and when you come back a year or two from now, you'll find out it didn't work.
Republicans argue, though, that by doing that, you will encourage people to continue to leave the state of Maryland and therefore hurting the opportunity to generate more revenue.
Yeah, everything's a balance. And I think, there is no obvious clear answer here that if you do this, then that. We see states that are high-cost states have growing populations, and it's because they provide great services, and people will pay more if they get good value.
Instead, Senate Minority Leader Steve Hershey says the Republicans are prepared to fight back.
Marylanders are having to live within their means, and the state of Maryland has to do the same. The caucus is completely against any types of fee increases or tax increases.
It's a math game, right? I mean, if Democrats want to do it, they have the votes to do it. How are you going to hold them off?
We saw this last year with juvenile crime. It was a Gonzales poll where the overwhelming majority of Marylanders do not support tax increases. So when they get their energy bills and they're through the roof, when they get their new tax bills, their new real estate tax bills through the roof, you're going to see whose side they're on. So there's going to be 6.5 million Marylanders in our caucuses working together because these are the issues that are most important to everyday, hardworking Marylanders, regardless of their political affiliation.
As Republicans argue public opinion is on their side, $1 billion still needs to be found somewhere. And with a push to find savings, any new plans are likely dead on arrival.
There's going to be a lot of great ideas that folks have that cost money that we're just not going to be able to pursue this year.
Any of the policies that have been created over the last couple of years that have not been fully implemented yet are on the chopping block.
Now that the first day of session is done, the real work begins, kicking off a session that's being described as one filled with tough decisions.
Now, there's also some concern about how the incoming Trump administration could impact Maryland's bottom line and its workforce. In the meantime, we're still waiting to see the specifics about where the governor plans to make some of these $2 billion cuts in the budget. We could see those when he unveils his full budget proposal next week. Live in the State House, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.